Hey, this is Rick from Hiking Emergency Beacon, and I want to do a follow-up test to the video I did yesterday about whether you can use SOS without a subscription on a Garmin inReach satellite messenger. So I'm going to go back and show a part of that video yesterday because it had good information. But then I'm going to wrap up with some new information I've found. I've talked to Garmin today. I've actually gone through and hit the SOS button and went through the whole process. But make sure if you do that you don't have a subscription, or you contact the SOS Service Center or Emergency Services Center to do a proper test so that you don't get charged for anything if you accidentally do an SOS message. So let's go right now to a little bit of the message I had done, or the video I had done yesterday, and then I'll come back to giving you a little bit more information from what I found this yesterday afternoon and this morning. Hey, this is Rick from Hiking Emergency Beacon, and today it's about 14 degrees here in Colorado. It's really nice and warm if you can't tell. But I had a question this last week from a subscriber, and they were asking about the SOS feature and not having a subscription with an inReach product, a Garmin inReach satellite messenger. And I know the answer, but I wanted to confirm it because, you know, sometimes having something in writing isn't quite what isn't everything you need. So I right now my subscription is on my GPS Map 66i. This Mini 2, the inReach Mini 2, it does not have a current subscription. Now I have a lot of satellite messengers, so depending on what I'm using and testing, I'll have a subscription on that, but I'll then suspend or transfer a subscription. So right now the subscription's on the 66i. So I went and did a test. On this test, what I did is I went to my Explorer app on my phone and I looked at the SOS, and on the SOS on the screen it said the device was disconnected. And, you know, but still there, I could still kind of wonder, can you still use the SOS? It was grayed out for a while on the screen, but then it went to a regular color on the screen. So that didn't really show exactly what I wanted as far as the test went. Then I went to the device itself, and on the device you can go into, you can open this little door right here, right there, and I depressed it for 3 seconds. And it bothered me a little bit because there was a countdown from 20 seconds showing that the SOS message was going to be sent. So I quickly got out, canceled that SOS, and then I called Garmin, because based upon what I was seeing, nothing really showed me that if you don't have a subscription, you can't send a SOS. Now I know on the messaging you can't send it. I've tried that before, and you cannot get weather without the subscription. But it looked like it was going to send the SOS. So then I called Garmin and I asked them, and this question that I'm presenting here to you that was asked of me this week. And they then put me on hold and had a little conference, I'm guessing, with people with more experience, and came back and said, no, you absolutely cannot send an SOS message if you don't have a subscription plan. I told the customer service technician that it looked like it was trying to send the SOS. So that's when she put me on hold. She talked to some other people there, and they came back and this is what they said. They said it will count down and act like it's trying to send the SOS, but it will sit there on the screen and just not send it. So this is going to be, again, one of my shorter messages, and you're welcome. But everything I've seen in writing and from the Garmin techs, and also from when I've messaged and used weather, you cannot do that without a subscription. So you will not be able to send an SOS message without a current subscription. All right, so what prompted this was somebody sent me a message and said, hey, why don't you push the button? I'm like, well, I'm a little afraid to do that because you can get charged for contacting the SOS center and it, not being a real emergency. So I was a little concerned about that, but I found out that you can do that and not be charged if you don't have a subscription. So let's go ahead and do that right now. And everything I do right here, I'm going to have screenshots up so you can see it. So I've already got the satellite messenger on, and I'm going to open this door up right here, and I'm going to hold it down for 3 seconds. All right, so right now, I don't know if you can see it, I'll have screenshots up, but it's contacting or trying to contact the Emergency Services Center right now. It's counting down, there's 11, 10, it starts from 20 and then goes on down to 0. This is what bothered me yesterday. Anytime you get a alert and the countdown starts to get a little bit panicked, especially when there's money involved, and I could get in trouble. It's, you know, not in trouble necessarily, but I could get charged. So right now it's saying initiating sending. I don't know if you can see that, but again, I'll have screenshots up of it. So what I found yesterday is that it initiates sending for maybe 15 to 20 minutes. It could be 10 to 20 minutes, but that's what I saw. And then what happens is after it tries to send for that length of time, then it'll come back and say, it'll give you another message and say message not sent. Again, screenshots will be up on the screen. So from my test, I could see that the message didn't go out. Now, somebody else from that video asked, does the message actually go to the SOS center and they see it but can't respond because you don't have a message? Well, it's a really good question. But I did talk to Garmin about that, and based on my tests also, what happens is these inReach satellite messengers cannot even communicate with the satellites if you don't have a subscription. So the emergency services center cannot even see the message. And I talked to Garmin about that today and said, hey, what about if you allowed SOS messages to go out, but you still have to pay for messages to family and friends and tracking and weather? And they said, yeah, it's a great idea, but you know, what's the cost to Garmin and will they actually do it? So we talked about it a little bit, but here's the bottom line. Garmin really doesn't need to make any changes to their plans because you can get the Freedom plan, which is month to month, and the Safety plan, which is the cheapest, the least expensive plan. It gives you 10 messages per month, and you can call for SOS in a life-threatening situation. So if you're not using it a lot during the year, you just suspend it for the months you're not using it, and then you only use it for those months where you're out on an outdoor adventure. That's not very much money, and then you at least have it for those emergencies. Here's the other thing I want to bring up. I've had a few people actually ask me this question. Well, I'm going to get an inReach messenger or an inReach satellite messenger, but I don't want to pay the subscription plan. Okay, then you don't really need the inReach messenger. Just don't go for it, because the inReach satellite messengers are for communications, for SOS, for two-way messaging, tracking. The tracking is important because say you're injured and you can't communicate. Well, people can see through the tracking where you're at. I had another message yesterday about somebody who lost a loved one here in Colorado up at Breckenridge, and they were on the back side of the mountain, but because they had the inReach satellite messenger, whether they were able to communicate or not, or they had the tracking, they were still able to find their family member and to retrieve their body. Sorry, it's kind of rough talking about stuff like that, but that was a message I got yesterday. So again, the inReach devices are for communicating, for SOS. And if you don't want that, maybe you've got another way to message. Maybe you have a satellite phone, or you just don't care. Well, there are other GPS devices that you can get, that even on using your phone or other Garmin devices, that you can use that are less expensive, and you don't need to pay for a subscription plan. You only need that subscription plan if you want to communicate. And I will just adamantly say here, if you're going to be outdoors very much and you're risking your life every time you go out, you don't know what's going to happen, have at least a safety plan, because then you can call for SOS. If you don't have any subscription, you can't call. You might have, say, forgotten to turn it on. Maybe you have the Freedom plan and you forgot to activate it for the month you're going out, and you're out there going, well, let's see if I can make the SOS work. It doesn't work. You can't always activate your subscription when you don't have cell service. So just always plan ahead. Make sure you test everything before you leave, and you have that active subscription. I've thrown a lot out here, and this all started with wanting to know if you could use SOS without a subscription. And again, the answer is absolutely not. But you can be less expensive with it by going with the Freedom and Safety plan. And if you have any questions at all, please leave a comment below, because I always respond in less than 24 hours. And if you see anything that can be done better, or maybe I've misstated here, please leave a message below and I'll respond to you. Well, thanks again for joining me here on Hiking Emergency Beacon. And yesterday it was snowing and 14 degrees. Today it's sunny and 45, I believe. It's the life we live here in Colorado. So thanks for joining me, and I'll see you on the next video.